Think of your earliest happy memory. A birthday, a beach, a face leaning over you. It feels like a recording, like you're pressing play on something that actually happened, preserved exactly as it was. But you're not playing anything back. You are building it, right now, from fragments. And every time you do, you change it. The memory you just recalled is not the event. It's the most recent draft of a story you've been quietly rewriting your whole life. This isn't a flaw in a few unreliable people. It's how memory works in every human brain, including yours. And once you understand how deeply your memory lies to you, you'll never fully trust it the same way again. Let's start with the core mistake almost everyone makes. We imagine memory like a video library, events recorded, filed away, and replayed on demand. But your brain doesn't store memories as complete recordings. It stores fragments, a scattering of sensory details, emotions, and meanings spread across different regions. When you remember, your brain grabs those fragments and reconstructs the scene, filling every gap with assumptions, expectations, and knowledge you have now. A psychologist named Bartlett showed this back in 1932. He had British participants read a Native American folktale called The War of the Ghosts, full of unfamiliar names and strange logic. Then he asked them to recall it again and again over weeks and months. And the story transformed. People dropped the parts that didn't make sense to them, added details that were never there, and reshaped the whole tale to fit their own expectations. They weren't lying. They were remembering, and remembering, Bartlett realized, is an act of imagination as much as retrieval. But here's where it gets stranger, because in the last few decades, neuroscience found the mechanism. It's called reconsolidation. When you recall a memory, it doesn't stay safely locked away. The act of remembering pulls it out and makes it temporarily unstable, editable, like a document you've reopened. Whatever you're feeling, whatever's around you, whatever you now believe, it can all seep in. And then your brain saves the memory again, with those changes baked in. You don't retrieve a memory and put it back untouched. You retrieve it, revise it, and overwrite the original. Which means something unsettling. The memories you revisit the most, your most precious, most rehearsed ones, are the ones that have been edited the most. The memory you've told 100 times is further from the truth than one you've never touched. Every time you tell the story, you're remembering the last telling, not the event. Now, if memory is this malleable, a disturbing question follows. Could someone reach into your mind and change what you remember? Could they plant a memory of something that never happened at all?
In the 1990s, a psychologist named Elizabeth Loftus decided to find out, and what she discovered rewrote the science of memory.
Her first experiments were subtle. She showed people footage of a car accident, then asked them questions about it. But she changed a single word. Some were asked how fast the cars were going when they hit each other. Others, when they smashed into each other. That one word changed everything. People who heard smashed remembered the cars going faster. And a week later, they were more likely to remember seeing broken glass at the scene. There was no broken glass. The question had inserted it into their memory. She called this the misinformation effect. The way information introduced after an event gets woven seamlessly into the memory of it, indistinguishable from what really happened. But Loftus wanted to know how far this could go. Not just distorting a detail. Could she implant an entire event that never occurred? So she ran a study that became famous as Lost in the Mall. Researchers gave participants short written accounts of childhood events, supposedly provided by their families. 3 were true. 1 was completely fabricated, a story about being lost in a shopping mall around age 5, frightened and crying, before being rescued by an elderly stranger. It never happened. Never happened. But after reading it, and being gently asked to recall more details over a few interviews, about a quarter of participants remembered it. And they didn't just say yes, they elaborated. They described the stranger's clothing, how scared they felt, what the mall looked like. They built a rich, emotional, detailed memory of an event that had never taken place. Later researchers went further, convincing people they'd taken hot air balloon rides, spilled punch at a wedding, even committed crimes as teenagers that never occurred. Sit with that. A false memory, once planted, feels exactly like a real one. There is no internal signal, no watermark, that tells you which of your memories actually happened. From the inside, the true and the false are identical. Now you might think, fine, but surely my most vivid memories are safe. The big ones. The moments so shocking, they're burned in forever. Where you were when you heard the news. The flashbulb memories that feel frozen in perfect detail. Those, at least, must be accurate. They're not. In fact, they may be the least accurate of all. The day after the Challenger space shuttle exploded in 1986, a psychologist named Ulrich Neisser asked his students to write down exactly how they heard the news. 2.5 years later, he asked them again. The memories were vivid, confident, detailed, and wildly wrong. Some students got nearly every fact different from what they'd written the day after. I am definitely right, yet they insisted their new version was correct, even when shown their own handwriting. The same thing was found after 9/11, in a study of thousands of people across years. The emotional intensity of flashbulb memories makes them feel unshakably accurate. It does nothing to keep them true. You are supremely confident and supremely wrong at the same time. So why would evolution build a memory system this unreliable? Wouldn't a perfect recorder have been better? The answer flips the whole purpose of memory on its head. Your memory was never designed to preserve the past. It was designed to help you survive the future. What matters for survival isn't the exact details of what happened. It's the gist, the lesson, the pattern you can apply to what's coming next. A brain that stored perfect, rigid recordings would be slow, cluttered, and unable to adapt. A brain that stores flexible fragments can recombine them to imagine new situations, plan, and predict. In fact, the same brain regions that reconstruct your past are the ones that let you picture your future. Remembering and imagining are, neurologically, almost the same act. Your memory is fuzzy and editable precisely because it's not a museum. It's a planning tool, endlessly repurposing the past to prepare for what hasn't happened yet. But this design has a cost, and in the real world, that cost can be devastating. For decades, eyewitness testimony was treated as the gold standard of evidence. A confident witness pointing across a courtroom,
"That's the man!"
saying, "That's the man," juries found it almost impossible to doubt. And yet, when the Innocence Project began using DNA to re-examine wrongful convictions, they found that mistaken eyewitness identification was the single largest contributing factor, playing a role in around 70% of the cases overturned.
Confident, sincere witnesses, certain they were remembering the right face, and certain they were wrong. One case captures it perfectly.
A woman named Jennifer Thompson was assaulted, and during the attack, she deliberately studied her attacker's face.
Determined to remember every detail so she could put him away. She later identified a man named Ronald Cotton with total confidence.
He was convicted and spent 11 years in prison. DNA eventually proved he was innocent, and the real attacker was someone else entirely. A man Jennifer's memory had quietly overwritten with Cotton's face. She had done everything right. She had concentrated, she was certain, she was honest, and her memory betrayed her completely. Years later, Jennifer and Ronald actually became friends, and together they now speak about exactly this: how a memory can feel like bedrock truth and be built on sand. And then there are the memories we get wrong together. You may have heard of the Mandela effect, the strange phenomenon where huge numbers of people share the same false memory.
Many people vividly recall Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. He was released, became president, and died in 2013.
People remember a children's book series called The Berenstain Bears, when it was always spelled Berenstain. These aren't individual glitches. They're the same reconstruction machinery, running in millions of brains, filling the same gaps with the same wrong assumptions. Because we share the same expectations, the same logic, the same tendency to smooth reality into what makes sense. So let's put the whole picture together. Your brain doesn't record your life. It reconstructs it from fragments, every single time. Each act of remembering rewrites the memory, so your most cherished moments are your most edited. Entire events can be planted from the outside and feel completely real. Your most vivid, confident memories can be your most wrong.
And all of this exists not because your memory is broken, but because it was never built to be true. It was built to be useful, which leaves one last, uncomfortable thought. Your sense of who you are, your identity, is nothing more than a story stitched together from these memories. The narrative of your life, the person you believe you've been, is assembled from reconstructions, each one edited a little more every time you revisit it. You are not remembering your life. You are continuously rewriting it and then believing the latest draft. In a strange way, you are less like a person with a fixed past and more like a rumor, a story your brain keeps telling itself, changing slightly with every retelling, until the original truth is gone, and all that remains is the version you can live with. And you will never know the difference, because from the inside, the story always feels like the truth.